You guys asked for it, and now it's here. By the end of this video, you're going to know how to choose the right nomad state of residence for you, how to become a resident of that state, and how the choice of that state and your income levels affect your healthcare options. I've hydrated, I've stretched out, I had a good lunch. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, it's Robin with Creativity RV, and welcome to my Sunday series, Be a Nomad, Change Your Life, where I try and give you every tip and trick that you need to hit the road full time. If this is the first time you've visited my channel, please go into my playlist so you can see the last 20-something videos I have under this heading. But today, I'm going to be going through how to choose your state of residence, how that choice will affect your healthcare choices, and how your income as a nomad also changes your options. Let me start here. I was a little hesitant to do a video on healthcare at all because, as we all know, it's a subject about which a lot of people are very passionate right now. So let me be really clear right here. My YouTube channel is non-political, so the only thing I'm going to endorse or promote here is a nomadic lifestyle. I am not endorsing or promoting any political agenda or policy. Just know that right from the front. But here's the thing, healthcare affects all of us, and it is almost the most frequent concern that I hear about from people that are on the road or want to hit the road. There are a lot of facts out there that people do not know about healthcare and what your options are once you hit the road. I can't tell you how many times I've been just sitting around a campfire with another nomad, and I'll walk through their choices and they go, no way. No way. And 2 or 3 months later, I'll get a text message or a call and they'll say, hey, I looked into that. And you're right. There were a lot more options than I thought there were. You can get a pen and a piece of paper if you want to take notes. But as always, my source material and all the links you need to do this research yourself are down below. And friends, if you do find the information here helpful, please take the time to share it with your friends and give this a thumbs up and leave a positive comment, because I have no doubt there will be a deluge of other comments down below, and I appreciate it. Like I said at the beginning, by the end of this video, you're going to know how to choose the right state of residence for you, how to become a resident of that state, and how the choice of state affects your healthcare options, and how your income also affects your options. So let's get right into it. Let's start with state of residence. Once you give up your sticks and bricks house, you get to choose your state of residence. Home is where you park it, but legally, you have to choose a state of residence through which you'll have your driver's license. Your car must also be registered in that same state, and you pay taxes in that state. So let's quickly review some of the things that you want to look for when you're choosing your state of residence. Several states have different tax benefits when you become a resident of that state. So let's say, for example, you are buying a new RV. You might want to become a resident of a state and get your driver's license there before you buy the RV so that you don't have to pay sales tax. The states that don't have sales tax are Delaware, New Hampshire, Oregon, Alaska, and Montana. So if saving money on the sale of your brand new rig is important to you, consider one of those states. If, on the other hand, you want to save on some income tax, you might consider one of the states that don't have income tax. Those states are Alaska, Florida, Nevada, South Dakota, Texas, Washington, and Wyoming. So if you're pulling in a lot of income, that's a good state for you to go to because you don't have to pay income tax. Another thing I think you should look at when you choose a state is what the vibe is and how much you like to visit that state. Is it a place where you're going to be spending time? And is that required to be a resident? I'll get to that in just a minute. And is it a state that you jive with, either, socially or with nature or politically? You have a choice. So I think it's good to take that into account. The other thing that you want to look at is how much your insurance is going to cost and your registration for your vehicle. You guys may have seen the Sunday video I did 2 weeks ago on RV Insurance 101. Check that out, because in that one I do go through with you how to find out where to get the best rates on your car insurance, and that can change radically depending on what state you choose and what zip code in that state you choose. And finally, and I think very importantly, when you're choosing your state of residence, you need to consider what state you want your health care to be in if you get sick. I'll get to more of that in a minute when we get to the healthcare section, but just think about this. Most emergency care is covered wherever you go under healthcare plans, but continuing care, like your wellness checks, and let's say you have an illness for which you need to go off the road or be on the road but get continued care, you have to get that done in the state where your health insurance is. So that is a very important consideration when you're choosing your state of residence as a nomad. So what does it even mean to be a legal resident of a state? Well, in most states, that means that you have to have a street address. When you go online and you search for something like, how long do I have to live in a state to qualify as a resident? You're going to see a lot of things that say 12 months. That is for in-state college tuition, so don't pay attention to that. The real rules vary by state. So what you want to do is when you're choosing your different states that you might want to live in, go into their dmv.org website. I'm going to put the link for that below so you can navigate to different states easily to see what their requirements are. In some states, when you set up residence, which I'm going to walk you through in just a minute, you're required to get a driver's license, which makes you a legal resident of that state within 10 days. In other states, it can be that you have to have a legal residence in that state for 90 days, and then after that, you have to get your driver's license within 30 days. So this is another consideration when you're considering what state to go to. Here's the thing. In every state that I have researched, you have to be there in person to get a driver's license. I know that there are services out there, especially in states like South Dakota, that will walk you through a whole bunch of things that you need to do, like registration and voter registration and that kind of thing. But I believe even there you have to go in person to get your driver's license done. And in some states, you have to take a written test. So when you're checking out the dmv.org website for these different states, make sure that it's one where you don't have to take the test unless you really want to go do that again. So once you find the best state for you for income tax and sales tax and vibe and where you want to have your health care and the place that you want to go through and get your actual driver's license and registration, then you might ask, how do I actually become a resident of that state? You might be thinking, my home is on wheels. How do I establish a residency address? Here's the big thing when you are establishing residency in a state and getting a driver's license. You have to have a legal residence address. It's really simple. You just get a street address through a mailbox service. There are a couple of organizations that help you do this, like Escapees and America's Mailbox. The links for them are down below. Personally, I just went through mailboxes, etc., because they give you a real street address, not a P.O. box. If you have a P.O. box, you cannot get a driver's license with that. And a lot of your vendors and credit card people don't like it either. So it's better to have a street mailing address anyway. So once you set up that box, you can have your mail forwarded anywhere. With mailboxes, etc., for me, I can call them up and tell them where I am. And for $5, they'll send the entire packet of my mail to another mailboxes, etc., in whatever state I'm in. The same thing can be true for other forwarding services and the two that I just mentioned. Here's a few steps I recommend following when you want to go ahead and set up the state of residence in your choice of state. After you've chosen your preferred state and you've set up a mailbox with a mailing address, not a P.O. box in that state, here's what you want to do. Call a couple of your vendors, like your car insurance and your bank are two really good ones, and have them change the address on your accounts to your new mailbox. They will mail those things to your mailbox. Then have those things forwarded to you. Then you take those pieces of documentation and you go to the state in person where you want to get your driver's license. Now, every state here is going to be different, and you want to look at that when you're choosing the state for you. For example, I have heard that California is a tough one. You know, you have to actually prove that you live in a real address there, but most other states don't require that. Most states just require that you have two forms of ID proving your residence, and if you look at the list, bank accounts and insurance, for example, are two of those things. You can see the full list on your state's DMV website. So you take your 2 new pieces of mail and you go down to the driver's license service and you get a new driver's license. Sometimes they have to mail it to you now. So then if that's the case, you have the permanent one mailed to you from your mailing service, or if you're in town, stop in and get it. Then you take that ID and get your car registered. This seems like a whole bunch of hoops to jump through, but look, you only have to really do it once or every time your license is renewed, or if you want to change your state of residence. So it's a hassle for a minute, but so is everything. When you live in a sticks and bricks house, you still have to go through all this stuff. You just have a better mailing address. So the mailing address is the big piece, and literally it takes half an hour, so don't worry. So let's get into the nitty-gritty about healthcare. If you're on Medicare, or you're covered through a family member still, or you're a veteran, then this may not apply to you, but it may. So stay tuned, because there are a lot of options here you may not know about. In our sticks and bricks lives, most of us get our health insurance through our jobs, or maybe through a spouse and their job. And because it's not transferable, I know for myself, it can give you a rush of panic to think, I can't leave that job, my medications won't be covered, I won't be able to afford the health insurance. Or you might think, I'm going to be denied because I have some pre-existing conditions. Well, all of that changed when the Affordable Care Act came out in 2010. Now hold on. Don't jump all over me if you don't like the Affordable Care Act. Just the facts, ma'am. I'm just here to give you the facts and help you hit the road if that's what you want. So bear with me. Like I said in the beginning, all of my source material will be in the links in the description and at the top of comments. If you disagree with any of this, then go ahead and comment, but please do attach a link with your source material. So in 2010, the Affordable Care Act, which some people call Obamacare, came out. And what this did was it created a marketplace across all the states so that people, us, that don't get their health insurance through a regular employer can shop for health insurance. There's a lot of misinformation out there about what it means to get your health insurance through the Affordable Care Act marketplace. In fact, Carnegie Mellon said that 86% of Americans totally do not understand the Affordable Care Act. And to make it worse, the Kaiser Foundation found that 60% of people that purchase their own health insurance do not get the subsidies that they qualify for because they didn't purchase it through the exchange. So let me explain what that means, and then I'm going to explain to you how your income and your state of residence completely opens up your options. You've probably heard the expression, the Obamacare or Affordable Care Act exchange. And here's all that means. It's a marketplace. Just think about it like a grocery store. When you get your health insurance through the exchange, you're not going to Affordable Care Act doctors. You are not going to government doctors. What happens is you're going to get a list of options, and it'll say like Blue Cross, Anthem, whatever. All these different companies are going to be listed, and the different kinds of plans and the prices. All it is a landing place where you can see what your options are and your costs are in the state that you choose, and you can purchase it. So just think about it like a grocery store where you can buy health insurance. That's all the exchange is. Now, before I get too much further into this video, I want to tell you guys that there is open enrollment in the exchanges from November 1st until December 15th. That is coming up soon, so I wanted to get this video out to you, so if this is what you want, you can choose it. But don't fear, because when you become a nomad, you can go ahead and get some Affordable Care Act insurance, even if it's not during the enrollment period. Here's how you do that. If you have any life changes, all you do is call the exchange or marketplace in your state, and you say, hey, I've had this life change, and I need to get health insurance. You might say, what are some of these life changes? Well, maybe you lost your coverage because you just left your regular job to hit the road. Or maybe you had a change of income. That also qualifies you to enroll in the Affordable Care Act. You might have a change of income if you've decided to go minimal and hit the road, make less money, spend less money, and live your life. You also do if you've been recently married, divorced, or separated, which I know happens a lot. Or you qualify to enroll if you just have a new zip code. So don't worry about it. either enroll in the upcoming period or whenever you hit the road, you can call the exchange in your state of preference and they're going to walk you through how to get the coverage. There are some state legislatures that chose not to accept the Affordable Care Act. Now don't worry, again, all the links you need are going to be below. I have links for healthcare.gov where you can actually see what states have it and what states don't have it. So if you choose a state of residence that adopted the Affordable Care Act and you are no longer getting your coverage through an employer or through a spouse, no worries. You can go to that state exchange and get health insurance. But you might say, what happens if I want to choose a state of residence that did not accept the Affordable Care Act? No worries. The Department of Health and Human Services offers a federal exchange for residents of that state. It's the same thing. That doesn't mean you're getting federal health care. It means that you're going to get a list of different private health care plans that you can choose for your coverage. Below, I also have a link for kff.org, which is going to give you a profile of different health insurance options by state. So that should make it really easy for you guys, I'm hoping. If you're one of those people and you're cutting down your expenses by going on the road and you're having a good income, then you can buy your insurance through the exchange just without the subsidies. But if you're one of the people that want to hit the road and reduce their income so they can live on less, then your options probably are going to expand dramatically. And one of those options is going to be Medicaid. Now, again, don't jump all over me. And Medicaid doesn't mean that you're getting care inside of some like government hellhole. I know because I've interviewed people on Medicaid. So just go with me here. When you sign up for anything on the exchange, Medicaid or like say Blue Cross Blue Shield, you're going to just choose private doctors that accept Blue Cross or they accept, let's say, Medicaid. Before the Affordable Care Act, Medicaid was just available for children and the disabled. What the Affordable Care Act did is it also expanded Medicaid coverage to low-income people, and it gave subsidies for middle-income people. So you might be asking yourself, well, what are we talking here? How much money do I have to stay below to get Medicaid, and how much money above that can I make to still get a subsidy? Well, in a second here, I'm going to throw up a chart, and that link is also below that's going to spell it out for you. But basically, here's the deal. If you make 138% of the federal poverty level, which will be written in all this documentation as FPL, then you will qualify to be on Medicaid. So usually that's somewhere around $15,000 a year and change. The only difference is on Medicaid, you don't pay anything. You might have a small deductible, or copay visit, but it's like a couple of bucks and there's no premium. So if you can live on under $15,000 right now, and all of this can change in our political climate, I know that. But right now, as of October 2018, if you call your state exchange, if they adopted it, and you make under, let's say, $15,500, around there, you should qualify for Medicaid. So for myself, I went into this calculator and put in my date of birth and zip code and income, and if I made under $15,000, it said you qualify for Medicaid. So if you do, you don't get any subsidies because you're not paying anything. But then I went back in and I looked at if I made $30,000 and it said that I got $300 and change in a subsidy. So that's basically how it works. If you go over 138% of the federal poverty level, you still can get health insurance through the state exchange if the state adopted it. You just can't get it for free. You pay out of pocket and you take the subsidy either monthly or at the end of the year. Now, is the exchange the only way you can get health care? No. You can go through a broker, but if you're making a certain income level, really they should be telling you about the subsidies. But there are also rural programs and farm programs and indigent care programs. There are a lot of programs, and I'll do some videos on that in the future. One of the things that's interesting now is that they just started allowing affiliated groups to start getting group coverage. So let's say, an RV group, maybe people can band together and get some group rates. So I'm looking into that. But know for now that if you're leaving your regular job, you do have the option to get insurance through the Affordable Care Act. It's still there, everybody. It hasn't changed yet, and I will update you if it does. But if you're going to hit the road and live on less, you're going to have more options for health care than maybe you thought you did. That might leave you going, no way. And I say, yes way, you guys. You can be a nomad and change your life. Don't be stopped by healthcare. I hope you guys found this helpful. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. Have happy travels. And everybody out there, be free.